that if it's not, because it's, especially in the quarterfinals, we've seen nothing but domination out of these Orianna players. And the first play, Blitzcrank actually really going for that. They love the hooks they picked up last game.
So another champion that has got a 100% record, it is Sona. Are we going to see CLG pick this one? They wavered on it last time. They thought about going for it. Instead, they went towards Leona. Maokai may well be the first pick this time. Snoopy, a very good Maokai player. But they're going for Ezreal again. Ezreal not had good stats this tournament, but continues to be 100% picked or banned.
These teams see the strength in Ezreal, and the main thing that helps CLG in this is they got the Maokai for Snoopy. He is much more comfortable. Alistair and Maokai are really his mains right now, so the fact that he has that and they've taken it out of the hands of Clearlove will bode well for them. If they can get comfortable, they'll have a much better chance.
And interesting, they have gone for Corki this time when Graves was available.
That's an interesting choice, actually. The last game they did pick the Graves against it. I wonder why they decided in that exact direction. The only thing I could think of is the Maokai Twisted Advance will always take you to the target, and if they want to pull him back and shut down ganks, it will go 400 units farther than Graves. Graves' dash is 400, Corki's Valkyrie is 800, so they could pull him into a tower much more easily, and it could be for bottom lane safety.
And what will we see? I was about to say, will we see Renekton coming out here from Wicked? Will he go with that one? Vlad is available. You know, Vlad's been one of those strong champions that really has been underutilized this tournament.
Oh, there it is.
It is going to be Renekton, so reverting back, and Lulu getting locked in as well.
So CLG switching it up here. They realized that their strategy last time didn't work. The Renekton has worked for Wicked in the past. We've seen him destroy with it. He actually picked that probably right into the Olaf. Fast picks coming out from WE, though they have really done their preparation, because this is really the fastest champion select pick ban, at least from one side, I think we've seen all tournament.
Absolutely. The final pick coming out, of course, it will be for Froggen. Which way will he go? Karthus is available again. Is he going to go for it towards Rise this time, of course? Orianna definitely out, so should be able to outfarm a Rise. What will it be? Will it be a Lux, maybe? We've seen Lux a few times currently this tournament, definitely in that mid lane.
Also
definitely a champion that he likes. It is Gragas is available as well. There is plenty out there. Cassiopeia?
I haven't seen him play much of it, but the Q is a very similar spell. If he's good at landing Karthus, he could be good at landing Cassiopeia. You normally don't see Cassiopeia without a Yorick for the clone and the super aggressive play, but if this is the way they decided to go, we can't really doubt Froggen.
You can't doubt Froggen. He is waiting to the last minute to pick it. Is it going to be locked in?
It's looking like.
Yes, it is. It is going to be Cassiopeia in the mid versus Rise. That's actually a good matchup versus a Rise.
It is actually. You can bully him very early on, and once you get the blue buff, it's crazy good. You outrange him, and Rise, when he wants to get aggressive on you, pretty much just has to run straight towards you. So Cassiopeia can repel that. Her ultimate obviously will stun him if he tries to run up. He does outrange. He can harass heavily early, and that is a good matchup in the lane. It's just when the later team fights come, Olaf running straight on him and Shyvana jumping into his face is going to be really difficult for him. He's going to need a lot of support from his team, from Lulu and Maokai, to keep him alive in those fights.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you have seen Game 1. It was a fantastic Game 1, but WE were very strong. If you want CLG to hear you get themselves back into this one, take it to the first best of 3 we've ever seen in this event. Give them a shout, ladies and gentlemen.
Lots of support coming out for CLG.EU, but we saw WE win the Game 1. If you want to see him take it home and go into the semifinals, let's hear it for WE.
Vuvuzelas at a League of Legends tournament. Honestly, you know, I feel like I'm back in South Africa here for the World Cup, but, you know, I was not expecting them. We saw them from day one. So the tournament, you know, the crowds have been really lively at this event, and it's great to see that. You know, it's only going to get higher. We're seeing Buff Heimer being waved at me. You know, it's something that you guys are going to have to do.
Eventually, he might have a rework coming at some point. No specifics going, but standing room only here. This is the most people we've had at LA Live in all the 3 days, and the energy here is incredibly electric. So much on the line. 3 more teams going home today, and we are into the game. Elimination time if CLG.EU wants to stay alive.
So if you just joined us, ladies and gentlemen, I know a lot of you do tune in just as the game gets underway. WE 1-0 up as the blue team, CLG.EU as the red team, and Chow Mei walking straight towards Snoopy there and putting that ward down on his face. Snoopy's going to be well aware of that one. That's going to prevent any early stuff, any early fighting. It's looking like they may try and go for the large Wraith at the moment. Just looking at the way Yellow Pete is, actually we're going to see something down the river. We can see the two ADs getting close to each other. They're just going to back off. Lots of pings coming down from CLG.EU, well aware of the positions, trying to put the ward down, and WE going very early on those wards. You can see that one at the top in the tri-bush. Actually, that's the axe that sat there, I believe. We have one in the top jungle near the red buff, and they've just put that one in the river as well. Meanwhile, is that a ward placed by CLG.EU on their own red?
It is, and the big thing for CLG.EU right now is they saw both of WE's early game wards, so they have an idea of where they need to go if they want to avoid being spotted. They are obviously afraid of a counter jungle red, and when you ward your own red, that generally means you want to invade the enemies, so they might look for some aggressive play early on. They know Clear Levant Shyvana probably wants to start on his own red. There's a lot of back and forth being going here, but they've spotted something. They have scouted a bit. They think that ward at their own red is going to be of much importance.
Looking like the Wraiths are probably going to get invaded by WE here. CLG, on the other hand, are going to start off quite happily at the walls and then go down to the blue. WE just biding their time here. Now they're making the move. 150. They are heading in towards the Wraiths, and honestly, CLG nowhere near there. They're going to have that ward on the red, though, like we said, which is going to alert them straight away. They are well aware of it. And, oh, they've hooked it through. They will see the lizards passing by, though, so they'll be well aware of the fact that red has been pulled.
But the great thing about this is Clearlev is taking the red solo by himself, and Chow Mei is taking the blue. So that's 3 buffs for WE. They have won the early level 1 because right now Snoopy is going to go down bottom and try to create something, but they've already denied CLG.EU the majority of their jungle. That was a clever level 1 ploy by WE because they've come out of that way on top.
Yeah, because Wei Zhao also has the red as well. So he's going to be very strong. We are still seeing it is FZZF just around in that mid lane. He's just above. There's Wei Zhao. So it's looking like, are we going to get the AD and support in the mid lane here from WE? Looks like the lane swapping craziness will begin. I'm just seeing below the screen, actually, Snoopy and Crepo. This is the roaming comp that we saw Dignitas attempting here.
They're ready for it, though.
Oh, they are very much ready for it, and they're going to back off. Wei Zhao, though, with that red buff, would be a prime target to get early on. Clearlove and FZZF are just hanging on in there. That's going to be a double red buffed up Team WE going into this one. That is a very dangerous at level 1.
Right now, you could tell Clearlove was hoping that Snoopy decided to go in because he was waiting for that. He's now roaming up towards top lane, and Snoopy did get a bit of a counter jungle onto the Wraiths, but overall, this is a lot of warding. They ward on the red did just spot Clearlove out again, and the creeps in lane, so they know exactly where he is in the jungle. Whether they try to punish that, Wicked could fall back on him, but he's a little scared right now.
The hook coming out, missing on Frog in here. So let's have a look at the lanes. They are lining up very crazily right now. We have down the bottom, we have Yellow Pete versus Chow Mei. So that's the top laner versus the AD carry.
That is an interesting one. Of all the AD carries, Ezreal is the best solo laner, but Chow Mei, with the blue buff, we saw this last game, can bully. He bullied the Malphite. He can also try to bully Yellow Pete. At the very least, Yellow Pete has to get a little zone and try to last hit with his spells. And then the Ryze top lane is very, very vulnerable. It's a long lane. Ryze is very slow, but that is why Clearleve's up here in the brush. He's hoping Snoopy comes to gank so they can 2v2. There's going to have to be a lot of camping by Clearlove top lane just to be ready for a counter gank because that is a vulnerable lane. In the middle, it's a little odd because we have Cassiopeia with a Lulu. Luckily enough for CLG, Lulu supports APs fairly well. One of her shields, actually, the move speed one, grants ability power to the caster, so that's not as bad as you'd think having Blitzcrank and Corki up against it. Very interesting lane swaps by WE. Also interesting counters by CLG.EU.
This is passing back to WCG 2010, the early days of League of Legends, when you used to have that AP and support lane, the AD in the mid lane. It's just old things being revisited, and it happens. There's only so many ways you can mesh things up, which some teams like to call cheese, but honestly, I just like to call it revisiting an old tactic. We can see, though, Clearlove are ready to pounce here. Pete just biding his time. I don't want to give too much away. You well aware of what's going to happen. Of course, he's going to have Arcane Shift and Flash available. So he's going to get away
as well.
In the mid lane, they're going both lanes, actually. Wei Zhao's going to be able to get away from this one. The boys are taking this up. Quick look down the bottom lane, and they are going to get first blood on that bottom lane. Now it's going to be Yellow Pete going down. It was Chow Mei that picked up the kill. And, of course, with that blue buff, it's definitely going to be deadly.
That's real big trouble for CLG right now because Chow Mei, once he gets rolling, he will be able to go straight at Froggen in teamfights, and they will not be able to protect their Cassiopeia from damage. Surprising that Yellow Pete would go down to that gank. He has the most defensive summoners really possible, Cleanse, Flash, and they were able to just chase him down. Wicked up in the top lane, though, bullying Messiah a little bit. The Rise is what's punishing them here. I wonder really why they're not doing two-man top, and here they potentially have a three-man dive. Blitzcrank, however, coming up to potentially counter this. This is going to be pretty silly.
Yeah, they're forcing Messiah away from this one. Here comes Snoopy trying to just pull Sneak out. Yeah, and there's a teleport they forced from Chow Mei. Oh, the hook comes in. They've caught Snoopy. He's getting dropped down in seconds. What a fantastic hook from FCZF.
That was great counterplay by WE. They smelled that gank from a mile away. They may have saw CLG coming from the wards, and just the teleport timed with when FCZF was there for the hook. Expertly played. That's really hurting Snoopy. It's hard for him to control the tempo when he only gets one buff and he dies early on into the game. That Rise in the top lane with Messiah only getting slightly punished by Renekton, 40 to 20 minion kills, but they did pick up that kill, so overall he's not that screwed.
6.5 minutes gone, 2-0 WE, looking dominant already in this early game. Lane phase very much all over the shop right now. Playing all sorts of different lanes. Yellow Pete's trying to keep as long a distance as he can. He wants to avoid all of those axes on his face in that bottom lane. Just using that Mystic Shot to farm at the moment. Very much keeping it out full range. Meanwhile, in that mid lane, we can see, well, actually, just look at the farming as well across the board between these two. Weezhou versus Froggen, along with Lulu in there. I'm not too sure how used to having Lulu alongside him Froggen is. Whether he was expecting this, I'm not too sure. 34 CS, though, compared to 56 for Weezhou. Weezhou definitely farming huge in that mid lane.
Way before even Season 1, Corki was a very popular mid laner. He does trade extremely well, and they have managed to beat up on Froggen. They're now kind of counter-invading. This is the buff that CLG.EU started with, but there's 4 members here. They're going to go for the pull and try to steal this out.
And they got the Rune Prison down, of course. They can stop it resetting. They've got the damage to go down, and Messiah's going to pick that up. That is the blue steal. Again, another buff stolen by Team WE.
Really just trying to jump on top of CLG right here, playing very aggressive early. Lots of lane switching. They've now sent Olaf up. Rise is back in the mid, so they've won the mid lane swap battle a bit with Corki against Cassiopeia, but they were losing the Rise against Renekton, at least from a minion score perspective. With the power that Olaf gained in the bottom lane, getting that kill, having the Philosopher's Stone, he feels like he can now go up against Renekton. And we'll see if CLG decides to counteract this lane swapping, because this is a very chaotic play from both of them, and you need a lot of practice as a team to react to this type of stuff properly.
So a Brutalizer being picked up by Renekton there, so Wicked going to go aggressive in that top lane, see if he can turn things to his advantage. Meanwhile, in the jungle, as we mentioned, Snoopy definitely struggling out there, still only level 4 compared to Clearlove, who's not far off level 6, I believe. Meanwhile, this bottom lane and the mid lane very much in a big advantage difference. Actually, you know, the top lane, technically, Messiah lost out a fair bit. He's only got 34 CS compared to 52.
That was the poor matchup.
It was a poor matchup, but it's a big difference, 67 to 51. And honestly, Weezhou is just looked unstoppable so far in this tournament.
And whenever Weezhou had the small edge on Yellow Pete in the last game, he just pushed it for the rest of it. And now that they've gotten him that early start, really Snoopy needs to pull something off here. But the counter gank would win here in the case, because Clearlove is level 6 and Snoopy is level 4. So all those early jungle invades have really set Snoopy back. And right now, World League in complete control. And this time, unlike last game, they're forcing hard.
They've spotted it with the ward, and that was good timing. FCZF might still be able to get the grab in here, though. He's just going to bait it away. Just pulled back. Actually, a good chunk of damage being done by Yellow Pete there on him. And that's going to force Shyvana back in towards that jungle. Clearlove going back around his route. Messiah in that mid lane. He's going to have to try and play catch up here. However, it looks like Froggen went back a little earlier than he wanted to. Wasn't able to complete that Hextech Gunblade.
The great thing for Messiah here is, because of the kill, even though he was struggling against Wicked early, he's dead even, actually 100 ahead of Froggen in gold. So especially with Froggen not getting enough for that revolver thus far, he would be able to trade with him fairly well, unless he gets caught off by an ultimate or a gank.
He's actually stealing away the Wraiths, actually. You see the pings on the map there, Messiah. And that's something we're not used to seeing Froggen do. Not seeing him used to losing those Wraiths.
And this just goes to show how strong World Elite is playing right now. The Wraith steal slowing down Froggen. How do you slow him down? Just take the minions he normally does. Wraiths, neutral minions. So good by Messiah, just especially considering there are people missing on that map. So much confidence right now. Risky play yet to be punished, and Chow Mei dueling Wicked up
He's
top.
going for it. Wicked's going for it. He's got the slice and dice on. He puts the ignite down, forces Chow Mei away, and he's happy just to carry on and tank up that turret, try and do as much damage as he can, farm out as much as he can. The ultimate was used by Chow Mei and Olaf, so Chow Mei is going to go back and buy. Meanwhile, down this bottom lane, Yellow Pete being forced up. Nice dodge there on the last rocket. Clearly, well, he's trying to take a peek, but nothing really going to come up from it. When you shove that much into the tower, unless you're going to fully commit to a tower dive, they do hook in Yellow Pete. Didn't Arcane shift away from that one, interestingly enough. Was quite happy to just accept the hook.
With that hook, Clearlove had spanned up and down the river, so he knows there is no vision for CLG right now on that dragon. They push them directly to the tower. They know CLG.EU wants to go shop, so they're going to pick up this clean early dragon. That Oracle's paying dividends because they did that dragon in complete safety.
They did it in complete safety, but we saw the damage done to that top turret, so Wicked really pushing the pace in the top lane. Meanwhile, Froggen just going back, Hextech Gunblade, Revolver, sorry, being picked up. Why I keep calling it Gunblade, that would be a crazy thing to pick up on Cassiopeia. Wei Zhao, though, meanwhile, is farming out like a pro down that bottom lane. You can see him just chugging down his drink, actually, in the picture-in-picture in that bottom corner. Has gone for the double Dorans, though. Something interesting with seeing that, you know, how these play out. Last time he went straight for that BF sword. He had that big advantage. This time he's having to play it a bit more safe.
Also, I think on Corki, at least, he's going to be going more so for a Trinity Force.
Yeah.
When you go for that anyway, you're going for beefiness, and this whole team overall does like being tanky. We saw it last game as well. Graves has the true grit for it. Corki does not, so you can see the itemization, even with the health crystal as his first item towards Phage. This team does not like getting picked out and spiked out in team fights. They need the team fights to last. Everyone loves building their durability. Even in the last game especially, 20% health, 30% health near the end of those. If they hadn't built the durability,